Here is the answer from a monastic nun to questions of interest from lay people. Many friends ask me how I deal with sexual desires after ordination. Indeed, this is a question of interest to many. A person shaves their head, sheds all glamorous attire, willingly holds onto precepts that seem almost inhuman to worldly people, consumes food devoid of any meat, recites mantras that no one understands, and sits in meditation for long, inexplicable periods. How do they live? For what purpose? Do they not have desires? How do they deal with desires? The interest inevitably focuses on sexual desires. Lay people do not understand. Does shaving one's head wash away desires like dirt with water? I tell you now, it does not. Shaving one's head does not shave off the habit of desire. However, a person who seriously, cautiously, and responsibly approaches their life and future, choosing to ordain, must clearly see the benefits of ordination. Buddhism is not just about the exalted Buddha statues and monks in front of ancient lamps, nor about the blindly worshiping followers seeking fame, fortune, or karmic connections. Without deep understanding, you will never grasp its mysteries. Without studying and practicing, you remain a pitiable, superstitious person, like someone guarding a priceless treasure without knowing its value. When I first began to study Buddhism, many past troubles and pains vanished as if awakening from a dream. Sitting there, I could only smile in silence. Do you understand? I can tell you, ordaining was the wisest, happiest, and most positive choice of my life. I have never left your lives. I have never chosen to escape. I have never refused any arising issue. On the contrary, I use the wisdom developed through the guidance of Buddhism to better and more effectively address and solve problems. Though I am but a beginner compared to the many great achievers, I am still a baby in the treasure trove of Buddhism. Yet, even as this Buddhist infant, I have felt the light brought by the Dharma. This light does not come from any bodhisattva. It is my own light, the light of inherent wisdom that gradually shines forth as I become slightly more aware. I always tell my friends about sexual desire. I still look at attractive people, and if I encounter someone with whom I have a karmic connection, I will inevitably feel affection due to the trend of karmic connections. But how do I act differently now? The law of cause and effect is an undeniable universal law. The meetings and affections of today are due to long-standing karmic connections, not necessarily the romantic vows of past lives seen in movies. The encounters we have today may stem from past enmities, debts owed or owed to us, familial bonds that stretch across lifetimes, or merely the fleeting greed sparked by a stranger's beauty in another life, leading to today's karmic retribution. This, in Western terms, is referred to as the butterfly effect. The inexplicable draw towards someone in this life, igniting desire, is a marvel of karmic connections. When such connections manifest, you find yourself illogically, uncontrollably falling for the other, day and night consumed by thoughts of them, desiring to fulfill every whim in collaboration with them, oblivious to the fact that your heart is merely following the cosmic law. The Buddha meticulously outlined this principle thousands of years ago. Once understood and observed, it becomes apparent. Similarly, when the karmic bond exhausts, no amount of life-death cycles can retain it. What's destined to leave will vanish into the void. You, naively staring into the void, reminiscing about the past, are tormented by unfulfilled desires, complaining, drowning in despair. What happens if I encounter such karmic ties? Let me tell you, we remain mortals, bound by long-standing habits and the immutable laws of the universe. When faced with karmic partners, my heart inevitably wanders uncontrollably. Attempting to reject these thoughts only intensifies them, illustrating the universal law of action and reaction. Imagine transitioning from passion to familial affection, from a woman who once cared solely about her appearance and satisfaction to a devoted caretaker of her family, neglected and marked by the passage of time despite frequent salon visits. This inevitable decline, marked by concern over children's nutrition and education and sensitivity to a spouse's attitudes as one ages, leads to a scenario where, if lucky, children grow successful and form their own happy families. My hair has whitened, and if further fortunate, my spouse remains mine, not someone else's. With age, we transform from daily caretakers to occasionally visited relatives. In good fortune, our children remain filial, caring for our health. In misfortune, we encounter those who leech off their parents, eagerly awaiting their demise for inheritance. Upon retirement from work, life becomes a cycle of eating, drinking, and using the remaining strength for walks. Unfortunately, old age may still bring worries about livelihood. Memories become the main companion, deeply tinged with sorrow. Youth belongs to memories, and aging brings an unchangeable despair. Inevitably, one of a couple will die first, leaving the other to spend the rest of their life alone. Even if there's a second spring, death is unavoidable. Life will reach a point where it can no longer continue. Death comes in two main forms: illness or natural causes. Dying from illness involves extreme pain and fear, as life is consumed by sickness, leading to a helpless death. Dying naturally, as my grandfather did, is fortunate. He passed away peacefully, like falling asleep, without anyone noticing. Death is final, regardless of how it comes. Reflecting on one's life at the end, questioning what was truly owned, and facing the ultimate despair often leaves one speechless. The weakening of the body to the point where it can no longer perform any action, fluids uncontrollably escaping, and a blurring of vision and consciousness are common experiences. Breathing becomes more difficult, and hallucinations of past actions flash by. Then, passing out in fear or joy, to wake up realizing one's body has been deemed a corpse. Friends and family's tears have dried up as they prepare for the funeral. From then on, I disappear from this world as if I never existed, filling this so-called intermediate state with loss, loneliness, and confusion. Normally, one has to endure up to 49 days before finding a place for rebirth. Depending on the greed towards one's parents at the time of death, one might be reborn as male or female. Some, driven by thought, turn into hungry ghosts, a concept difficult to comprehend. But it's a state we've all been through and forgotten. Hungry ghosts, unsatisfied due to greed in their previous life, remain eternally hungry, a far cry from the discomfort of human hunger. Others, because of their greed and hatred, as well as extreme misdeeds, may end up in hell, a reality regardless of belief. Disbelief doesn't prevent its occurrence. Committing evil deeds only harms oneself, not affecting others. The torments of hell are unimaginable. For those interested, Buddhist texts provide some descriptions. Looking at myself in these monastic robes, I am filled with immense satisfaction. This life I have decided to transcend. I am no longer ensnared by past obsessions. In the future, I must face the challenges posed by habits accumulated over time, but I am willing to confront and surpass them with the courage of the sages before me. Monastic life is serene and comfortable, free from the shackles of worldly values. I have gained an unprecedented freedom, engaging in activities I desire, learning to assist all beings. Although my power is limited, my happiness is boundless. I deeply repent for my past wrongdoings and vow not to repeat them. While habits may occasionally lead me astray, I aim to quickly recognize my errors and continue repenting, reducing my mistakes until they cease entirely. By maintaining this discipline, I can lie in bed each night with a sense of peace. Even if death were to approach now, I would have no regrets or fears. My heart harbors no darkness, only love for all beings and the wondrous light of the Dharma. Are you curious about the kind of world such a mindset might lead to in the next life? If one's strength is not quite formidable, at the very least, they will be born into a happy, prosperous, and harmonious family, enjoying a life that is beloved and blessed with good looks and a gentle nature. Those with greater strength will continue the path of renunciation, pursuing the practice of this life until achieving ultimate enlightenment. The strongest among us will comprehend the truths of the universe in this very life, awakening fully from the grand illusion of samsara. To my friends, including those reluctant to awaken, believing the present to be sufficient, a day will come when you understand. Remember, the teachings of the Buddha will guide you to the light. May you be well and joyful